You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends, since our systems could handle multiple dinners at Taco Bell in a week. Now dad's reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Waggoner. And on today's episode, we wish Happy Haunts would have materialized as we review 2003's Haunted Mansion. But before that, Eddie, how are you and the family doing?
Well, thanks to you, dreaming of cabins in the Swedish wilderness. Just to bring you all in, JB sends this video, and it's like an hour and a half. It's like an hour and a half, hour 45-minute YouTube video, and the title is like,
"I built a cabin alone." I built a cabin alone
in the for 3 years. For 3 years.
It's this 18-year-old kid who built not just like bought his stuff from Lowe's. No, he
hand harvested every timber,
used old gear, old equipment.
Everything.
He's everything. hammering his own door key,
nails, everything,
nails, hardware. Everything, but he had to hire he had to borrow a blowtorch. But besides that, everything.
Before we get to all that, to all of that, JB sends this to me on a Saturday morning, and my first response to him is, "This looks like an extrovert's nightmare."
So good.
And then you replied something to the effect of like, "No, give it a watch." Turn it on in the background as you're doing something else. I can't remember exactly how you had said that, but to that effect.
It's long, so it's not like you have to just sit there. Although I did sit there in bed watching this thing. But anyways, this is your story.
Yes, so there you go. You say, I pulled up the text because I want to make sure I quote you accurately. You said, just put it on while you're doing other things. It's incredible. Right. So JB, I'm trust him wholeheartedly. I'm just going to put it on while I'm doing other things. Other things like I was very thankful. There's like no speaking in it. It's very peaceful music and everything. So I'm like, oh, this will be great. I had like a ton of translation work to do. So great. Put it up on my iPad. I'm on my laptop just translating, going for it. And I get maybe 10, 15 minutes into this video. And let's just say no more translating happened.
You're emotionally invested.
I'm emotionally invested. I am captivated by this. Like Sarah even like steps out to like ask me her question. And I'm like, a little peeved that she's like interrupting my little Zen moment here. Like it was incredible. And I'm like, could I do this? What's like the Indiana wilderness of this? How could I, you know, like
I knew.
My brain starts to, you know me well, like deep nature things, self-sustaining craftsmanship, like
using the old tools.
Yes.
All the old tools.
I loved it. And then it's like, and here's the moment. I towards the end, I'm like, yeah, but no way I could ever do this. Like I'm way too much of an extrovert to be alone that long. And just then he plans a party and has a whole bunch of friends over, and I'm like, there it is. I'll build like a party barn or a party cabin out in the woods and invite all of my favorite people to come.
What was the genius thing that he did that you were like, maybe we haven't progressed as a society? Because those old school people are really smart. Do you know what I mean by that? They're like, that's ingenious the way that one person could do that with limited resources and abilities.
I mean, I am much of a nerd that like I've watched, you know, videos here and there on like some of those things where I'm like, I knew they existed, but still watching somebody hand crack a giant boulder with just simple tools to maximize the laws of physics. It's brilliant. Where it's like, I think nowadays I got to get a jackhammer in there or something like that. It's just like, no, just like peacefully chisel this little hole, chisel this other hole. Let's just slowly wedge these little things in there and just like crack. Like, to me, those types of things, that's his craftsmanship of certain things, like the sled, the bending of the steaming of wood. There is something, I've watched multiple videos of people steaming wood into shapes. That's still quite miraculous to me. What about you? You're the one who sent it to me.
I mean, it was incredible watching him. I was going to say how he got like basically I was watching him play Lincoln Logs with huge, massive logs.
Get each log up. Yeah.
Getting each log up onto the top level with his, like, I was like, oh, what is he doing? Why is he putting these logs here? Why is he adding a notch? Oh, he's using that because he can get one up, then climb up and then get the other one up. And he's doing all this by himself with logs that no person can pick up by themselves, doing it all alone. But man, when he was creating his own, anybody who knows wood better than I do, and flooring, how he was able to create grooves in the flooring so they would snap together.
Handmade tuck and groove flooring.
Insane.
Whoa.
Insane.
Yes, agreed. And we've got to mention the craftsmanship on the door, all of those things. Brilliant, brilliant. But this is not a review podcast of crazy.
I'm so glad you use this for your family. I'm glad you use this for your family to talk about how your family's doing when you only talked about you and a little bit of Sarah for a second. Well, I was waiting for a kid to jump in or something.
There it is. I have no idea how my kids were doing during this time because I was a lazy father captivated by this silly YouTube video that my friend sent me.
So that's the moral of the story. Be careful what you watch on YouTube. You might be a bad parent.
Or more so, careful what links you click when your best friend sends you video clicks. Beware.
When they know you too well.
They know you too well. They know you way too well. But enough about me and all of our adventures in the Swedish wilderness vicariously. We've got a few things. Well, the main thing we wanted to get to was the Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out here soon. This coming weekend.
This weekend.
And so we kind of want to play a little like teaser, like how are we anticipating? And then just to get us in the Marvel mood here a little bit as one, I think we would all say that Phase 4 was a little rough. Phase 4 kind of waned our trust and
Is it still going? Are we out of it yet, Eddie?
So Ant-Man and the Wasp is the official beginning of Phase 5. We are done with Phase 4. Ant-Man and the Wasp kicks off. So in honor of that, we're going to look back on the good old days. And JB and I both are going to pick our top 3 favorite Marvel movies. And because that's so hard, we will quickly throw out a few favorable, honorable mentions out there. But first of all, JB, are you excited for Ant-Man and the Wasp? Will you be going to go see this immediately?
Well, for sure, I will be going to see it immediately. Like, that's no question about that. This is what I do with all Marvel movies. I see it opening weekend at a good matinee time to get a discount on it.
Well, can I interject here? Let's just make this full circle here. The solitude of a Swedish wilderness doesn't come close to going and seeing a movie by yourself.
No, it's not quite the same thing.
I was going to put that out there.
So, yes, I will go see it this weekend. I'm going to see it opening weekend. I'm sure either, depending on availability of our times to go see it and get a good review done, we will either cover that next week or the week after. Got to see when the timing works out for us to cover the film. Mostly, I'm looking at you, Eddie, of when you can go see it, at your leisure. But this is kicking into a new gear. We got a taste of the new mega villain, the new the new guy that's going to be with us for
Thanos.
The new Thanos, yes. But with Kang, which we saw a taste of him in the Loki series, he's coming in hot. This is his first real big screen time, and he's going to be with us. So to that degree, it's kind of like you got to like it. You got to kind of be excited about it. You got to be expecting something big because he is the guy. So to that degree, I'm still just like, I'm jet lagged on all the time travel stuff, all of the time travel, this, that, and this is going to be, I'm guessing it's just going to be it on steroids for the entire film.
Multiverse on multiverse.
We'll see, because Ant-Man is a beloved character. He does a great job in these films. So to that, I kind of like being back with Eric Lang. Is that his character's name? Right? Sorry. It's been a long day, Eddie. It's been a long day. Just had a birthday party before this.
I'm really excied
birthday
for
party,
that.
Post Christmas. I don't even know. Anyways, do you have any thoughts of wisdom? I feel like we're losing listeners as I keep using my mouth right now.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would echo those sentiments. Phase 4 kind of wore me out a little bit. Maybe too much Marvel. But I like the Ant-Man character. That first Ant-Man movie for me was really good. I really enjoyed that. And the second one was decent as well, but the first one just kind of took me off guard and I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to it. I loved, his name is escaping me, but the actor who plays Kang, his performance at the end of Loki was delicious. It was fun. Like, I'm just like, yes. That's
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors, there we go. Like that, okay, that's the type of villain I want to see next. We have the big muscle bad guy. Now we need the mental mastermind kind of a villain. And I don't know, he might be that, but
Paul Rudd. Why could I remember Paul Rudd's name? I don't understand. Scott Lang.
Scott Lang is
Scott Lang, not Eric Lang. It's Eric. That's in Thor. I'm thinking of
JB Eric. Is really excited to go see Worm Man. He's got the poster for Worm Man up on his wall.
Oh, Eddie, this is off the rails.
All right, then let's just keep rolling off the rails. Top 3 Marvel movies. You put this out there. This is hard.
I feel like you put this out there, but I'm pretty sure you're the one that said to do this.
What? I'm going to blame you for everything in this episode since you...
I'm the fall guy. I'm the fall guy for this entire episode. Oh, goodness.
You wasted an hour and 45 minutes of good work time for me.
Okay. That's how much time you spent on your list?
No, on the Swedish wilderness guy.
That's all people are going to remember from this. What did they talk about on the Disney podcast? A Swedish wilderness guy building a log cabin. Y'all need to go see this because it's so good. Anyways, so top 3. I'm going to start at number 3. I'm going to start with the movie that surprised me more than any of the other ones. From the moment the first trailer hit, we knew this is going to be different. It totally changed the trajectory for one of the major actors in all of this, and his career is completely different because of it. We got introduced to brand new characters we had never experienced before. And you know where I'm going with this. I'm going with the original Guardians of the Galaxy, because I feel like it even kind of changed Marvel movies. Like, we got Thor Ragnarok because this film and what James Gunn did with it. Chris Pratt has a completely different career now because of this film and what he did to embody this character. Drax was amazing. His so dry, like, dry wit's not even a great way to put it. Like,
I would say though, Dave Bautista, this puts him on the map too.
Puts him on the map.
Makes him a multi-dimensional actor
because he was just like a WWE wrestler,
who kind of become an actor. Yeah.
Yeah, he had no big hits, and then he did this, and he just became beloved. He went from like, oh, he's the brooding guy to like, you genuinely love this guy, and you love.
And
this
now
character.
he's done fantastic roles across the board. He's done such great work.
So
I would agree. I would also say that was one of my favorite theater experiences.
Yes.
I knew very little going into this. I went and saw it with my uncle and my cousins. They were in town. We all went and saw it together. And I just had a blast. One, I love them. And it was so much fun to go see the movies with them. But then like the audience was in on it. And I think it just took everybody off guard because this isn't what the Marvel we were used to up to this point. And it was just a fun ride.
It was great. So that's why it's number 3 on my list. It's one of the best group of non-Avengers. Like, even, I guess they are technically Avengers, but they are one of the best groups in all of Marvel, in all the cinematic universe to me, that original group.
I'll give you that. Yeah. My number 3, I gotta go with the OG here with Iron Man.
Ooh.
From the beginning, I love this movie. I think it is so rewatchable. It's Jon Favreau, which we love, and it blew all the stereotypes of what superhero movies should be out of the window and just kind of reset the stage for what would become, all of Marvel. So I really, and you've got Robert Downey Jr.'s performance is fantastic, and Jeff Bridges is such a great villain in this. I think it's just a fun ride. So my number 3 is Iron Man.
Can't fault you on that, because it definitely, talking about so much of Marvel changed careers for people, and Robert Downey Jr. was a big winner for his original portrayal of Iron Man, and then what he went on to do. It
reinvented his career for sure.
And it really set the tone for Marvel in general, like the types of stuff that they would go on to do, and kind of legitimize them in the eyes of the industry and of culture, and because there's a lot of comic book or comic style things or adaptations in general that didn't hit that well, mostly DC stuff. So the fact that they swung and they hit right out the gate was big.
And I'll tell you, one of the fondest memories that I have of this, we all went, this was way back. I was in college. We all went and saw it together, guys from my floor. And I remember like the credits start rolling and I get up and my friend was like, no. I read on the internet that there's a hidden scene at the end of the credits. And I'm like, what? Like now it's
Easter egg
commonplace, but that was not done before then, right? And so I'm like standing there with so much anticipation. Then you get, I didn't know all the comic book characters or whatever. And so the Nick Fury scene happens there. And then my friend's like, oh my goodness, and he starts like, he knows his comic books, rattling all off. And that just sparked in me something of like, oh, they're building something really massive here. And I'm hooked. I'm intrigued.
My number 2, this is where it was definitely getting hard to figure out which one I wanted to do here. I wanted to do a Captain America film here, and there's a lot of good ones. But this one, the one I went with was Captain America Civil War. Because, first off, the Cap versus Iron Man back and forth is amazing. It's so great pitting these two guys together. You've got a great bad guy in the sense of like, he is not super powerful, but he's so conniving and made this thing happen all on his own without having any superpowers whatsoever with Zemo. Just love to hate this guy. He's like, you can just look at his face and go like, I hate this guy. Introduces several key characters to the cinematic universe. One being Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man's first intro, and I remember seeing the trailer for it. First time he's on there, because this is right after Sony had epically failed with the Andrew Garfield films, and they're like, please help us. We need to do
epically failed
from the box office.
Okay.
They were it was not a good experience. Those two films for them, box office, culture wise, they were not hitting the way they want. Whether or not you liked it, and I thought he did a good job in that second film when we can't go down that rabbit trail. The sound effect for her at the end was impeccable. That's your favorite?
I love Andrew Garfield. He's my favorite Spider-Man. I love those two films. Those are my two favorite Spider-Man movies.
That being said, coming out of that, Sony said, please help us. Please help us make better films. We will still control the distribution and the final say on stuff, but can you guys please be more involved in this? Oh, and by the way, we'll let you use Tom Holland's Spider-Man going forward. So we get him in here. We get Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa. This is his a big, massive entrance into the universe. Good point.
You had the those two entrances. I had forgotten both of them were in there.
Daniel Bruhl. Yep, go for it.
Can I make a confession though? This is my least favorite Captain America film.
No.
And I'll tell you why. No. I'll tell you why. This is not a Captain America movie. It's
an Avengers film.
It's an Avengers film. Like, sorry. But if it's like, hey, if we're talking Captain America movies, yeah, this is my least favorite. It's an Avengers film. They didn't know what to do with this.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not done. We had already been introduced to Scott Lang, who we just talked about recently, not Eric Lang. But this is his first time being with the rest of the gang. And he's like the one guy's friend from college who comes to hang out with the rest of the crew, but everybody ends up loving him by the end of the night. Like, great entrance for him. Yeah, I just loved it. Martin Freeman. I can't remember if this is his first film. No, yes. he's in Black Panther, but you're right. Yeah. So he enters this universe as well. There's so many good, and there's so many great lines in here. America's butt. Like we get America's butt in here. But you're right. It's basically an Avengers movie. Oh, and I can do this all day when he's battling him near the end. Like but the big thing when it comes down to it is the way that they earned that hatred for Iron Man's hatred for Cap. When you finally get the reveal of his parents, he was responsible for his parents' death, or Bucky was responsible for his parents' death, and Captain America literally having to choose between his new friends or basically family, and choosing to love his family and his friend, and knowing that there's some good in him. It's one of the most Captain America-y things that he did in his entire saga so far in the cinematic universe. And just the scopes of it, all of that. That is why Captain America Civil War is one of my favorite Marvel films.
Number 2 for me is Avengers Endgame. I felt like I needed to. Number 2. I think you'll be surprised by my number 1.
It's Eternals, I know.
I've never seen Eternals. It's the one Marvel movie.
You still have it. It's on there, Eddie. You can just turn it on.
My best friend wrangled me into doing this podcast. And
you wrangled me into watching the Swedish guy. You wrangled me.
Any extra time that I had. No, I'm teasing. Endgame pays off so well. And I think that is why I enjoy this movie so much, is that there is just so many well-earned, like they earned these moments. There's none that are just like, here you go. No, they earned all of these little moments. And it's funny, it's dynamic. Like, you see so many character arcs. You know, you get the bitter Iron Man, you get the gluttonous fat Thor. Like, they they just took all of the characters and were just like, okay, let's dial them all in these different directions. And I don't think I have had a better movie going experience, like in the theater, than Endgame. And I don't know if anything will ever top it. I don't know, but like, even like, I enjoyed going and seeing Force Awakens in the theater. That was a fun movie going experience, tugged on all the nostalgia. But Endgame, like, there are moments, I mean, and what's funny is I think Captain America gets the top ones, right? Because you get, Falcon, right? When Falcon flies in on your left, like, oh, like everybody uproars with that. But nothing is bigger than Captain America grabbing the hammer. Like, our theater jumped. Literally, like, there was a standing ovation mid-movie, and it was just involuntary. You know, like, people just leaped out of their seats at that moment. It was such a fun experience. Good story. I enjoyed it. That's the type of like time travel, jumping around stuff that, okay, I'll put up with that. I'll deal with that. But anything else, it's a little too much. But that movie just, it pays off so well. And I enjoyed it. And I kind of hold it. Like, I don't go back to it unless okay, now let's sit down and let's really enjoy this.
I'm glad you brought it up because that is actually my number one film. I'm very interested to see what you say after this. So let me just digress into why I loved it. Of course, our theme for this episode, and if you listened to our last week's episode on Brother Bear, you knew that our big problem with that one was like the lack of a bad guy, a lack of something drawing the tension in. And of course, there's no one bigger than Thanos, which we experienced in the film right before this. And what's interesting is I think when you hit the nail on the head in the sense of this is a movie of endings for multiple, not only just this storyline and these people and their grief after the snap happens in the previous film in Infinity Wars, but we lose Black Widow, we lose Iron Man, we lose Steve Rogers. So many endings to these iconic, and even just the Thanos is now like so many movies now, like they get the Darth Vader and A New Hope treatment of spun out into the space, but they might still be coming back for a future episode. Like, how many times have we killed Loki? Thanos, he's done, kind of twice in one film. But that's why it's so good, and one of the reasons why I really loved it is because in the moment, I hated the ending of Infinity War. Hated it. Walked out so furious. Like, seriously? This is how we're going to end it? No. Seriously? Yeah. We're going to kill half the world or whatever? What are you going to do with that? And they did it. And they did it masterfully. And they totally, in the words of Dumb and Dumber, totally redeemed themselves. That's how I felt seeing this. And they even opened up with like a moment of grief for all of, like a right amount of grief for all that they had been through before together. With the support group and everything. I felt like I was going to a support group for myself, for everybody who had watched the previous film. I don't know that we've had a better, and I think that's why it's spoken to how frustrating the new phase has been, because we had a great ending. And of course we didn't want there to be no Marvel movies after that. But at the same time, we had landed the plane, and this new plane we're in is kind of feels like a rickety old, like trying to get it off the ground, or it's like new technology and nobody knows how to run it yet, and trying to get around to the characters and try and make you love. And it's just like, it's not what we had. So that's why I say Avengers Endgame is my favorite film of Marvel. And I know it's the Homer pick. I know it's the basic milquetoast pick for everybody else. It's not sexy. I'm sure yours will be a lot more, but I couldn't put another movie above it. So Eddie, what did you put above Avengers Endgame sacrilegiously?
Okay, so if you were to say, all right, Eddie, let's watch a Marvel movie right here, right now, at any moment, at any time, any day, like, Eddie, throw on a Marvel movie. 9 times out of 10, I am going to say Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I think this is a perfect movie. One, we've brought this up multiple times as we review current ones and whatnot. One of the things that I love so much about Marvel is how they slip other genres over the superhero genre. And for me, this was like the perfect one of like espionage, government secrets, whodunit, a little bit of like spy thriller type of feel to it. I love the action pieces in this. I think the action pieces are fun, but they also propel the story forward. Some great acting. For me, this is probably my most watched Marvel movie as well. And like I said, if you're gonna ask me like, hey, let's throw on a Marvel movie, Eddie, which one do you want to watch? I'm gonna be like, hey, let's throw on Captain America: Winter Soldier. I think it is so well done, and just I could rewatch it endlessly.
I almost put this one up there. I just felt like I had to pick a Captain America movie, and I went the other direction. But is this where it also like whispers in Hail Hydra? Is this that film?
Yeah, where they like Hydra has infiltrated all the different like government levels and stuff like that.
This is one of the first films that me and my now wife went to together.
And you didn't pick it? Mm.
I also might have gone and seen it by myself first and not told her. And
you
then
went to your Swedish wilderness.
Yes, I watched it beforehand, and then we actually got in and watched it. And then she noticed that I didn't gasp at something. And she's like, wait a minute. You saw this before we saw it together. I think this is one of those films.
That's really funny.
Now, the introduction
honorable mentions.
Yeah. Well, so the honorable mentions that I've got here. So this one was really hard to leave off of there, but I feel like I couldn't pick multiple Avengers films, although I kind of did by doing Captain America: Civil War. Kind of snuck it in there. But Age of Ultron, one of the best and one of the best bad guys. I love
James Spader.
James Spader, up there with some of the best voice actors. Even when he's on screen, I'm listening just for his voice. It's great.
Well, that was performance capture. He was on set for all of that. That's a performance capture.
But like we don't see him.
role.
So obviously his voice is what's really carrying it. One of the best bad guys in here. You just can't get better than Thanos, but whatever. Iron Man 3, love Trevor. One of the best fake bad guys that we've ever seen on screen. Nobody saw that thing coming. And it was funny because the Mandarin is still better than who the eventual bad guy was the whole time. Didn't really care for him. Black Panther, it was just Black Panther, it was just a breath of fresh air to not have the entire world coming down at any moment based on that film. It was just one dude versus another dude.
Yes.
Stripping their powers away, physically coming after each other. There was real stakes involved, even though that they had lowered the world stakes or whatever. And then I just want to call,
I agree.
And then I just want to call out an honorable mention for a film that fell off like a cliff hard second and third rewatch that made me sad was Captain Marvel. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. I enjoyed it in theaters, and the more times I watch it, it gets worse. I don't know why. I don't know what's happening. Maybe I've just watched too many memes of her, of the actress online that
Brie Larson.
Brie Larson, of her in doing media hits that go bad. Someone did supercuts, but sorry, that movie fell off a cliff, and it makes me not as excited about the next one. So that is my honorable mentions.
I will give 2 honorable mentions. The first one is more or less for a scene. I want to say that this is the best scene of acting, maybe, in all of Marvel. And that is Spider-Man Homecoming. And the scene that I'm referring to is the Vulture, Michael Keaton, driving Spider-Man Tom Holland to the dance.
Ooh.
That scene, I've watched it a couple of times now, and it's still like
so good.
like so much tension, so good, and you're just like like it builds so much. Brilliantly acted by both of these men. I just had to put that out there. That's probably one of my favorite scenes of acting in all of the Marvel movies. And I got to say, I enjoy Spider-Man Homecoming in general as much as I was raving on Andrew Garfield earlier. I love the Tom Holland ones as well. Also, I got to give an honorable mention. I love the first Thor movie so much.
Eddie, I thought that's where you were going.
So much.
I thought you were going to say the first Thor movie was the best movie of all the Marvel films, and I was going to leave. Not because I didn't enjoy that, but I was like, there's no way it's the best one. So I'm glad it's an honorable mention, though.
It is not the best one.
But why? But why for you? I mean, let's start with
first and foremost, it's Kenneth Branagh.
Kenneth Branagh.
I love Kenneth Branagh. I think I've mentioned on here before, I didn't know he was the director of this movie when I went to go see it.
And it makes sense.
And it makes sense. When that end credit title comes on and it's directed by Kenneth Branagh, I leaped to my feet in the middle of the theater and yelled, Kenneth Branagh?
Of course you did.
And everybody turned and looked at me like, what is this freak yelling about? Love that movie. I think it knows its tone so well, plays the shtick so well.
I'll have another. And that's my favorite moment from that.
Love Natalie Portman, and I think she's a great character in this. So I had to give an honorable mention to Thor there. So those are I was going to give Guardians of the Galaxy, but you gave it earlier, so I was thankful for that.
And also her sidekick in that is great. Darcy.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful they brought Darcy back in
multiple times.
WandaVision in particular. Great character that deserved more screen time.
It's great. It was great. But that's not why you're here. That's not why you're here, to hear our Marvel takes for the majority of this episode. No, and I'm so glad we limited it to 3 instead of 5 because we took up all the time with that and with the Swedish Alps. So today you are here as we continue talking about all the movies that when we grew up from 1988 to 2005. Getting real close to the end here, but today we are here to talk about another ride turned into a movie, and that is The Haunted Mansion.
Cue the Disney sound effect.
Okay. IMDb description for The Haunted Mansion is this: a realtor and his wife and children are summoned to a mansion, which they soon discover is haunted. And while they attempt to escape, he learns an important lesson about the family he has neglected. Kind of turns into like a focus on the family, like Adventures in Odyssey, like end of, for all those people who ever listen to Adventures in Odyssey.
He learns an important life lesson.
Yeah, this is now VeggieTales, the important lesson about sharing. Oh goodness, Eddie, I just want to say, so we had rewatched this maybe a year and a half ago, probably sometime early after we got Disney Plus. And all I knew about it was that my wife said she hated this film because if you're an active listener of the show, you know that my wife, her favorite ride is the Haunted Mansion, and she hates it when they do anything different to it, aka all of Christmas time when they do all of the Jack Skellington all over it. So she ran to the theater back in the day when this came out. I asked her about this. And mind you, this is right after Pirates of the Caribbean came out, which was a mega hit, mega huge budget, Jerry Bruckheimer, all the things of why this thing was massive. And so she thought she was going to get that for the Haunted Mansion and was utterly dismayed to find out that this was just a weird Eddie Murphy comedy that did not do any of that. She has since we watched it again at the time, she was like, oh, it actually wasn't as bad as I remember. But I think now, having us watched it now for her a third time the other night, and for me only the second time, we were both like, yeah, this film, not great, not great. What was your take on it, Eddie?
I can barely stand this movie and like barely hang in for it. And what's interesting is it's like I can't really put my finger on why. I think there's two competing things. The story it's not compelling. Like it's not familiar, like from a Haunted Mansion standpoint, it doesn't feel familiar enough.
There are references to things, but it's not like they wove them in naturally. It's kind of like,
right.
Oh, there's the talking heads. There's Welcome Foolish Mortals.
Not natural.
It's duct taped on.
It's great way to phrase that. It is duct taped on. Because that's the other that's the other side of the coin that I wanted to mention was like it's not a familiar story at all from a Haunted Mansion standpoint, but from just like a mystery light horror film, it's very familiar. It's just like, oh yeah, like they were supposed to get married and, you know, oh, he thought she killed herself. Oh, wait, no, it was the butler who did it. Like there was just so many things in that just, it felt cheesy. It felt like a wimpy attempt to knock off an Agatha Christie novel, which is, yeah. And you know, they tried. I think they put some good actors here and there to kind of lift it up in a few moments. But I mean, overall, like I wasn't interested whatsoever. And then you throw on top of that, like an unrelenting Eddie Murphy character.
Eddie Murphy playing Eddie Murphy, and what you would think an Eddie Murphy character would be.
Exactly. And you're just like,
bad impersonation of himself.
There needed to be a moment where that changed, or there was just it wasn't funny for me. It just didn't land. That being said, I thought there was a couple of really great sequences when they go down in the crypt and all the like zombies are coming out. That is a fantastic sequence. And that's where I'm like, hey, that's reminiscent of some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff, you know, like that sequence on the deck there. But overall, like there's nothing memorable about this. And I think you nailed it on the head. I wouldn't know that this was based on the Haunted Mansion. Unless it was the title, like you just duct taped these little things here and there on it, and it just didn't make sense to me.
It wasn't a cohesive piece together. It was really like, okay, let's throw Eddie Murphy into this home and have him do some stuff.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a storyline that doesn't really make a lot of sense of like not a lot of sense, but just like didn't seem like. I know a lot of stuff is fantasy and we're talking about crazy things here of hauntings and things, but like I still want it to be based in some reality. And I never got that sense from this film, and it wasn't compelling. I don't know. The whole Gracie, the whole Edward Gracie storyline, I didn't care. Definitely didn't care for the Hell Dragon that comes and like rips Ramsley too. I kind of was interested in Ramsley. He was kind of an interesting dude, like kind of funny, playing the straight character, but Ball looking like creepy for the first half. And then when he's really the villain, you're like, I liked him better when he was funny, when he was like, didn't realize he was being funny. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, it just wasn't an inspiring performance by anybody.
Wait,
what is she doing? Like, hanging around with Gracie the entire, like Eddie Murphy's wife in this movie. What is she doing the whole time with him as he takes him down memory lane and stuff? Like, it's so awkward and weird, and anybody would have run away at any point in those conversations. Like, what are we doing?
Sense. It makes no sense. And I mean, even in that, where it's like the ending where she like goes ahead and like is going through with the marriage because, well, you've got my kids in a trunk. Like, that didn't seem earned. It just didn't feel like there was enough tension to go that far. Yeah, and that was just creepy. It was just weird all the way throughout. I didn't like Madame Leota either.
Something wasn't right. It was a gimmick.
Yes. Because in the ride, she is mysterious and almost ethereal, and it's just, ooh, you know. And then here it was kind of like, it was too self-aware.
Yes.
And every Madame Leota sequence, I'm just like, no, like, I just want to fast forward this. I just want to get out of this sequence as much as possible. Which I think if you're making a Madame Leota, a Haunted Mansion movie, arguably Madame Leota is like the most recognizable character from the ride.
This or the heads. The headstones are big too.
I'm
agreeing with you.
There's a lot of really great characters, but I mean, in essence, though, I'm looking at like, okay, then if she's the most recognizable from the ride, you've got to get that character right. Like, you have just got to get it right. And I've got to say, like, that's probably the aspect that I'm holding my breath, getting a little excited about the new one that's coming out this year, that they got Jamie Lee Curtis to come play Madame Leota. Okay, there we go, folks. That's some casting right there. This has got to be fantastic.
Let's just go over some of that casting, because it's funny. We're gonna have so much Haunted Mansion content. We have this. We have the Muppets Haunted Mansion that came out. I kind of want to rewatch it. Maybe I would like it more on a second rewatch, because first time I watched
reviewed it. We reviewed it on this, and you like poo-pooed all over it.
I know. That's why I'm saying I want to go back and rewatch it, because I might like it more if I tried it again. But this new one that's coming out later this year, they've got Jamie Lee Curtis as Madame Leota, Jared Leto as the Hatbox Ghost. Perfect casting for him.
Yes. So
good. There's a lot of big name actors inside of this film. I was trying to go through there, the Danny DeVito, Owen Wilson, Lakeith Stanfield, Rosario Dawson, Dan Levy, Tiffany Haddish. This is the one I'm like, what is he doing in this film? Where are they going to put him? And Hassan Minhaj. I'm so interested to see what they do with Hassan Minhaj, but they've got a lot of characters inside of here. I'm so interested to see what all they do with all these people, and how serious are they going to take the storyline versus, evidently Guillermo del Toro has a writing credit for this film.
So he did the initial story and was supposed to produce it. But in typical Guillermo del Toro fashion, I feel like Guillermo del Toro is the guy that everybody wants to say they like, but deep down in, they really don't like him, you know? Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, he was supposed to do The Hobbit.
Let's have Guillermo del Toro do a treatment and do all this stuff. And they're like, but we didn't really like what he came up with, so we're going to bring in this, this room of writers or whatever. Yeah, so he was the initial draft on it, which, fantastic. That's intriguing. Like, some Pan's Labyrinth feel going on there.
Yeah.
That could have been interesting. Here's where, just to kind of put the two side by side, even though we haven't seen the 23 version yet. the thing that is so wonderful about the ride, the Haunted Mansion, is that you get this ride through all of these different scenes and scenarios with memorable characters, right? I think that's what sets it apart from like a Pirates of the Caribbean ride. If pre-Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, there's not too many like memorable characters.
It's like Rosie, out. Like there's a couple, but it's very short. It's very short. It's more scenes like the dog and like stuff like that.
Yes. You get this feel, this kind of ethos in Pirates of the Caribbean, where one of the things that I love about Haunted Mansion is you get so many memorable characters that when you get off the ride, you're like, oh, the Hatchet Bride. Oh, the Hatbox Ghost. Oh, the
Talking Heads. Yep.
The Talking Heads. And you've got all of these, even just the groundskeeper and the dog. You've just got all of these very memorable characters all throughout. This movie, none of the characters are memorable. You have none of that. And you left so many, fun, interesting characters kind of out there that you could have played off a little bit more.
And the ones that they did, like Madame Leota, they butchered.
Just so poorly. Yeah, I just, this movie couldn't get over soon enough for me. But it makes me excited for the 23 version. I hope.
This is the movie we need, Eddie.
Yeah, I like the idea of ride-based franchises. I think they've got a lot of potential. I would love to see another Jungle Cruise with The Rock and Emily Blunt. Like, I enjoyed that. I wouldn't say it was like one of my favorites, but I really enjoyed it. I would take another one of those. So yeah.
So it's no wonder that I'm going to give it a 1.
Me too.
1 and 1 makes 1, Eddie. Makes us all losers in this scenario. But that's what happens. You gotta spend more time with if you're gonna do an adaptation of something people love, maybe find out why they loved it and just kind of add that back in. Stick to it. But
yeah, because I gotta say, like, you have to go back and listen to our Pirates of the Caribbean episode. I think one of the brilliant things, again, about Pirates of the Caribbean, the movie, is that they weave in the moments from the ride, but it doesn't overpower. It doesn't dominate. Like it is so much its own, all the while capturing what the ride is and seamlessly working it in. And this, man, your description there is so perfect. We just kind of duct taped some Haunted Mansion moments in here, and we're like, and we're going to call it Disney's The Haunted Mansion. It is a 1. Please don't ever make me watch this movie ever again. And so with that, I would have to say your life has forever been changed by another episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review or share it with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com. Yes, we have a website. You can see our full movie list there as we continue to go through all the Disney movies from 1988 to 2005, including next week as we watch another one of JB's favorite genres. He loves animal movies, folks, so you want to tune in for this as we review The Young Black Stallion.
Oh, yeah. Looking forward to it. Thank you for listening, and remember, at Evers and Evers, we want you to be happy forever and evers.